Welcome to Crafting a Career in the Arts, The Inspirations. Have you ever wondered what inspired some of Edmonton's biggest art events and celebrations? In this series, we delve into the minds of the people behind some of Edmonton's largest and most iconic festivals and spaces for the arts to find out what inspired not only the event, but those who run them. Join us as we look into the history of the art scene and speak with those who help make the arts possible in Edmonton about who they hope to inspire. In this episode, we meet an artist and promoter turned gallery owner who is not only intent on bringing attention to the arts, but preserving the vitality of the mall at the center of his community as well. Phil Alain, the producer and founder of Night of Artists Gallery and Art Walk, discusses what inspired his artwork, gallery, art walk, and a charity near to his heart. Along the way, we'll hear from members of the Night of Artists Gallery who shared their insights on how Phil's initiatives are transforming their community.
My name is Phil Alain, and I'm the producer and founder of Night of Artists and the NOA Gallery in Bonnie Doon Centre. Night of Artists Gallery I started up in December of 2022. Kind of came out of nowhere. I was actually basically just fading out of doing my Night of Artists festival. It's just time to move on to different things. And then a friend of mine who used to bring me down to Calgary to do events in the malls in Calgary ended up becoming the retail manager of this Bonnie Doon Centre. And she asked me if I wanted to come take a look at a space and potentially set up a gallery here. I immediately said no. I said not interested. And then she said, well, just come take a look at the space because it might be something that would appeal to you. And she brought me down to the space and showed me what it looked like, and it had a door to the parking lot so people could come after hours, and my brain just started going crazy, like, oh, I could put on events in here and everything. And after having a little chat with her, I thought, yeah, I think I'm gonna make this work, and I decided to move forward. Well, when I started the gallery, the whole purpose of it is to promote the local art scene. So in order for me to make it work, I needed artists that would actually basically want to be a part of it. So I invited artists who had been in my Night of Artists shows for years and just said, you know, if you want to be a teammate on this, you know, kind of work in the gallery, work with me, we could try to make something big here. And if I had the interest from those local artists, that small group, that maybe we could turn it into something much bigger. And immediately I got the interest, and we had a team of artists working down here, painting away the gallery, revitalizing the space, and it was then that I realized that this is a great venue to kind of really showcase the arts of Edmonton, and it's going to be a collaborative, and it's going to be a team effort where we just going to keep expanding and making bigger things because everybody here is working together to make something grow. Well, almost every month I have a new opening because my goal is to not just feature one group of artists that are continually part of the gallery, but to continually change the gallery up and feature new artists. Because by creating a destination for all types of art forms, it will bring more people to the mall and bring more people to the gallery. By staging various openings, I have book launches here, I have small little concerts, just anything that intertwines with the art community. And I think that's, you know, to have a little hub that supports all of the arts community is just wonderful and keeps the gallery vibrant. Oh, the origin of the Night of Artists Art Walk actually goes back almost 27 years. It's kind of an interesting story because it happened because of hockey, if you can believe that. I was playing hockey up in northern Alberta, and I ended up getting a scholarship to go to school at Grand Prairie College. So I was taking fine arts at Grand Prairie College, and in the first couple of games of the season with my hockey scholarship, I blew out my knee. So that ended my hockey career pretty quickly, but at the same time, I was asked to do my first ever personal art show in my solo show at a gallery in Grand Prairie. So when I did the show at the gallery in Grand Prairie, I didn't know anybody in Grand Prairie really. I only know that my friends that were on the hockey team basically, and that's it. So I had to invite people to come to the show. So I invited all my teammates from my hockey team who were willing to come, but you know, a gallery just wasn't their typical environment. They were all, you know, your early 20s and hockey players. I mean, it doesn't mean they don't understand art, but they just weren't necessarily comfortable going to a gallery setting. But they all came. and they loved it. And but it was a little bit hard for them to feel comfortable because they felt like they had to know a lot about artwork and they had to be able to critique it, etc. Because for some reason they felt that's the way galleries work. And I think some people do feel like they have to have a certain knowledge of art to enter a gallery, which isn't the case. After that showing, I thought, well, how can I change this? How can I bring the art to the people that maybe need to come into galleries? So I actually took over a hall in St. Albert, and I had my sister and one of my best friends play music at the hall, and I served food, and I had a band, and I put up all my artwork, and it became this really, it was more like a hall party for art, and the show was a huge success. I had over 160 people attend. I sold more artwork than I've ever sold in my life, and it was that point I thought, well, why can't I keep expanding this? So it was at that point that I started asking other people to join me, getting other artists to say, hey, you know, if you bring your friends, I'll bring my friends, and we'll create a bigger event. But it's always going to be this social gathering first, and the art is almost second. And it was at that point that it just kept growing and growing. And next thing you know, I was doing art shows all the way across Canada. I was doing Vancouver, Victoria, Toronto, Ottawa, all over northern Alberta. It was just unbelievably taxing on my body as well, but I was young and had a lot of energy, but it was wonderful too, and it was a great way to see the country and showcase art.
Next, Phil discusses how he believes his gallery and his events can help to start breaking down barriers around art by making it accessible to everyone, while cultivating a community of support that allows artists to build each other up.
The reason I wanted to start a gallery was not because I necessarily wanted to start a gallery. I guess probably from the time I was about 15, I used to always have these plans to open a restaurant, believe it or not. It was like a place for people to gather and just fun, happy environment. It wasn't until I got into my mid-20s when I did that first solo show in Grand Prairie where I just started thinking, well, it'd be fun to have a restaurant with art in it. And as time progressed, I realized that the restaurant is just too much work. I don't really want a restaurant. But I love the art and I love the social component. I love it when people are coming together. So, so it kind of takes away this purist view of setting up the gallery that is like the way that you would probably traditionally see a gallery. But I love the fact that there's people that do that. My goal now with my gallery, I guess, is to introduce people to artwork. It's almost like not just the training wheels for people that want to look at artwork, but no, it's high caliber artwork that people will love to have in their homes, but it's kind of like that one step before you go into the next step, so you feel comfortable going into those other places. And my place is more the gathering place. And then when you go to the New Yorks or to the Torontos, wherever, you now feel like you can do that and not feel like you need to be trained in any certain way. Art is for everybody. And that's kind of the goal I'm trying to get with this is to create that everybody space so that people feel like they can go everywhere and enjoy it. Well, when I took over the gallery, even though I was initially wanting to stop doing the Night of Artists Art Walk and Festival because I was just drained, I saw the Bonnie Doon Centre as an unbelievable opportunity to bring community together. Typically, malls have been kind of slowly fading away because we're in this era of immediate gratification where we buy everything online. If we want to go to a store, we just want to run in, run out. Where malls used to be the place where the community would gather. You'd wander the mall, you'd just talk to your neighbors, etc. We're slowly getting away from even knowing our neighbors. So when I saw the mall and I thought of all the great artists I have in this community, I thought, why not take over the entire mall, and I'll keep my art walk going and actually showcase the art walk along with the stores in the mall and actually bring community together and let's get out of our homes and back to actually talking art and talking to each other and make a little festival out of it. At first I thought it was kind of crazy because, you know, typically my events were in ballrooms and big event centers. Now I'm moving into a shopping center, which I thought, oh man, this is a big risk and it may flop dramatically because I can't imagine walking around a shopping center with a glass of wine and looking at artwork, and it just didn't seem like the right environment. But, you know, I was at a new point in my life and I thought I'd take a chance, and Bonnie Doon Centre was wonderful. They actually, they were open to it because they wanted to see some life in the mall, and they completely trusted me to take over their mall, which was, to this day, I still don't know why they did, but they did. And And I was so grateful because that moment where they allowed it to happen opened a door to a wonderful thing where we have 3,000 art pieces on display for the public to see, with music and people creating, while people watch. And this year we have fashion shows. It's just a great way to bring people together. Well, when I first started doing the event, I was an artist. I'm still an artist. At the time, I was trying to create an event where I could sell and promote my work. And as time progressed, the event just kept growing. I literally started as a solo show, eventually worked up to 3 people, to 5. Next thing I was doing the show across the country. And now this year we have almost 140 artists in the event. So in the last probably 7 years or so, I haven't had any time to do my own artwork. The whole event used to be just a one-night event where it was just a one-night gala, and I realized that people sometimes need more time to think about their purchases. So by creating an art walk that runs alongside the event, it turned out to be a really big genesis to the project, and now it's been such a wonderful thing to actually see people looking at artwork for 3 days and crowds coming from all over the place, and where there's a chance to look at artwork for free, or you can choose to come to the gala and pay a ticket to help a good cause. There's multiple layers to the inspiration for the event, because it definitely is something that is a need and a welcome addition for the people of the community to enjoy. And I love that. I love that it brings people out to celebrate the arts community. But it's also this community of artists. There's nothing more rewarding than watching artists helping each other. By working together as a team, they're making their art grow in popularity or helping each other sell. I mean, it's the community of promotion working with the community of enjoyment and celebrating the arts. And I think that is, and not to mention the fact that all of these components are also helping charities in the process, because the event raises money for a charity. So it's taking it all in, celebrating each other, and then giving back to the community, which I think is, it's got all the layers that you could possibly want. Malls have become slowly almost like ghost towns. Malls are being torn down all over the place, and it's primarily because we're losing community. There is so many seniors in this community who've lived in this area for such a long time, who grew up in a time where community was important, where meeting your friends at the mall was important, where talking to your neighbors was important. They weren't part of the technology era, and there still aren't a lot of them, where they don't want to communicate on Instagram or Facebook. They want to talk to you face to face. And when they walk into the mall and see people again, and they can go talk to the owners, and a lot of the businesses in this mall are the ma and pa stores. They're not the big franchises where you lose that personal connection. And so when they come into our gallery, first of all, they see the beauty of the art in the gallery. But secondly, they realize that there's that personal connection again. They're not talking to a faceless corporation. They're talking to a person that actually created the artwork, and they're standing right there to talk to. And a lot of these businesses in the mall are those types of people that they actually produce the product, or they are very closely connected to what they're doing. And it goes back to another time that's what they grew up with. So we have people that come in here and they will tear up, because it's like they're so thankful. I had one lady come in here, and she literally was in tears of joy, because she comes here almost every other day now just to walk around, because it feels good to be in this space, which I think is, sometimes it's not about the dollar, it's more about watching how it affects people. And thankfully, I've been able to do that here, because I have such a great team of people around me to provide that for the community.
My name is Linda McVeigh-Kyler, and I'm a textile artist. I paint and stitch on top of my paintings, and I'm from Edmonton, Alberta. I'm in the Night of Artists Gallery at Bonnie Doon Centre, and I'll also be in the Night of Artists Art Walk coming up. I think that the Night of Artists Art Walk events are really important, because it gives you a connection between you as the artist and the people that come to see the art. And it also makes you have a connection with the other artists. So you have your community of artists and your community of people that are coming to see the art. So it's really nice. You get to talk to people. You're not all isolated. When you're working on your art, you're usually by yourself, either in a studio or at home, and you don't get to talk to people very much. Your family, it's not like having, your gang at work that you're around the water cooler. So for me, it's a big social event. When I started as an artist, I didn't really intend to be an artist. I actually started out making fabric banners, so I would cut out letters and logos and I sewed them onto backgrounds, nylon fabric, and everything was zigzagged on. But then eventually, and I was doing textile art for my own enjoyment, we'll say. And then I joined the Edmonton Needlecraft Guild and started doing more things. I had a library I could look through because it was before the internet. And then eventually I joined the Alberta Craft Council, and they encouraged me and helped me with things that I didn't know about. So then also the people coming to see my art also encouraged me. It's always when people come and see your art and they say, wow, I love this, and even purchasing art, small pieces, big pieces, it all goes towards giving you the confidence to continue on. And also the finances to continue on. If you do it full-time, I do it full-time. Being in the mall is really interesting because you have people that are just going to the mall, they're not going to an art walk. When it was at the Enjoy Center, it was more they're coming to the Enjoy Center, but I think more people actually came to the event. So people stumble upon the art walk here, and that's kind of interesting because they'll say, oh, I didn't know this was going on, and they're very excited about that, seeing art up the entire length of the mall. So they're probably spending way more hours than they expected because they were just going to go get a coffee at the food court, and now suddenly they're spending 2 hours looking at art. But one thing that was interesting is because I actually went to Bonnie Doon High School now it's Vimy Ridge, but I went to high school there, so lo and behold, I met somebody from my graduating class that I went to junior high and high school with that came down the mall, and so that was kind of fun. So that was kind of a bit of an outstanding moment for me. That was kind of fun.
Now, Phil takes us through what inspired his personal journey with art and how he started his career in the arts.
Well, since I was in my early 20s, I decided to make a career out of being an artist. In doing so, meaning had to do what every artist does, set up for the art walks, try to figure out how to sell work, try to figure out, how to keep in touch with people that buy your work, etc. And once again, as time passes, there's new things that arrive all the time, like social media, and like when I was in my 20s, there was no such thing as social media. You could maybe spam an email, but even then there was barely any email. It's like things transition over time. But I've been in the trenches many times. I used to do the art walk. I did the White Avenue art walk for almost since the beginning. It started up for 20 years, and I've gone through the challenges of storms blowing my artwork over and trying to figure out what you should display or shouldn't display. How do people get in touch with you after the fact? And so the trial and error I've experienced as an artist, I can now use, and I've made a lot of mistakes, like a lot of mistakes. And I think that there's an advantage to making a lot of mistakes, so you can kind of, see the signs in other people that maybe they should, look at things a little bit differently. And I've had successes that I would have never thought would have been a success if it wasn't for the fact that I've attempted these things and stepping outside the box or pricing things a certain way. And so I think as an artist running an art event, it just has that much more impact with the other people when you can actually say, I've done this. I know exactly what you're going through, and I think that you can do it better if you do this. And it doesn't mean I'm right, but I think sometimes, it's like talking to an elder who's lived a full life. They're going to know a heck of a lot more about things than someone who's in their 20s. You have to be willing to listen sometimes to see if, you can gain some knowledge. And not saying I have all that wisdom, because I'm learning every day, but there's definitely some things I can offer because I am one of them. My own art has always been inspired by whatever I'm doing, really. Like when I first started out as an artist, when I was like in my 12, 13 years old, basically, I was doing charcoal drawings, and I focused primarily on on drawing sports figures. Like I drew football players, hockey players. Why? Because I played football and hockey, and I just loved the sports, and I realized I had this creative ability, so I was drawing and doing what I loved. And then as time went by, everything I did was really about people. I really find, and maybe that's reflective of today, where all my events are about people connecting, whatever. I focused on romance. I focused on people just connecting through my art. Music became a huge part of my life, so I started painting a lot of musical images because especially for a few years, I was touring Canada with a blues band. I was just so much loving the emotion that, when a musician walks out on the stage and the spotlight hits the musician, and just that instant connection of the audience to the musician through one little spotlight that just changes the whole mood. And I thought, why can't you connect that into the visual art side of things, where you can actually make that musical spirit come to life, yet through a painting. So I guess my art always basically probably reflects my mood of the time, and which I think is probably relevant for a lot of artists, where they just portray what's inspiring them daily. Like landscape artists probably love to be out in nature, and I've been always just kind of motivated by the human spirit and what people possess, and try to create that kind of vibe. So, yeah. I probably have had a couple of very significant moments in my art career that probably changed my path dramatically. Specifically, when I was in junior high, I had one teacher who clearly recognized that I had a talent and just said, you gotta focus on this. This is like grade 7. And I think that if you talk to a lot of kids or adults, they'll always refer to when they were a kid. There was that one teacher that kind of pointed them on a very positive path, and she was definitely one that started my art career. And then probably the most significant person throughout my art career is probably Louis Lavoie. We started doing events together, and eventually we started up a company called Mural Mosaic, where we started uniting people through artwork by combining paintings to make these gigantic murals. And if I had never met him, who knows what my path would have been in art. But that grade 7 teacher and Louis Lavoie were definitely the most inspiring people in my whole art career, for sure. Who would I like to inspire with my art? I think it would be me. I don't want to paint for somebody else. I want to paint for me, and if I need to feel good at the end of the day to create something where it feels good. And if it doesn't feel good to me, it doesn't matter what it feels to anybody else. I mean, I like the fact that people will appreciate my work, but the best feeling I have ever as an artist is that I've created something that makes me want to create again. And whether that means I want to improve, or whether that means I know what I can do now and I can take it to another level, it's just the fact that I need to continue to inspire myself, because without inspiring myself, my creativity will die. So it's not about being rewarded by somebody else. It's more about being true to myself, I think.
Next, Phil discusses the important role of volunteers in the art scene, and then we hear from a long-term volunteer about the importance of having volunteers who are also artists.
Well, volunteers for an event typically come from people who are well, first of all, they're social by nature. They like to be around community, and they typically have a passion for what you're doing. And they can be your best supporters, your best teammates. And I think that, there's a reason why some of the festivals, like the folk festival, etc., they have such great volunteer bases, because those people love music, or they love big crowds, or they just love being out in the community. And I think the volunteer is a very, very special personality. Like, you give up your own time to do things. And I mean, typically volunteer work isn't heavy, labor-intensive work, but it is something where you can feel like you make a difference. And when you make a difference and are actually connecting with other people, I think it's pretty rewarding. And I think some people forget that giving is sometimes way more rewarding than getting. And volunteers, I think, are the ones that really understand what giving is, because they're giving their time and their person to make something greater for the community. This gallery, for example, is basically all done on a collaborative basis. I have no employees. We all are part of the team. Like, what I get out of the artists as a team is way beyond if I would hire anybody, because there's a passion that each one of them carries into the room when they come here. They want the gallery to succeed. They want to sell their work. They just want this gallery to thrive, and when somebody is hurting, they help them. Like artists get sick, they take care of their needs while they're away, and family problems, etc. It's more about a family than it is about a job. And I really think that when you have a family community, like what I feel like we have in the gallery, and even through Night of Artists, it grows exponentially because people actually care about each other. They're not there competing for space. They're there to celebrate the time together, and whatever happens is a bonus. So yeah, it's valuable.
My name is Karen Bishop, and I'm a watercolor artist based in Edmonton. I've been volunteering with Night of Artists for probably close to 15 years, I would say now. It's a while. I do a lot of his social media for him, and then I do help him out with planning, with the auction, making name tags, and kind of do everything, I guess. And anything. I'm inspired to volunteer for Night of Artists because I love Edmonton art community. I really think Phil's a great guy. Those two things combined make it impossible for me to say no. So I've been an artist for 20-something years, so I have lots of experience in the arts community, so that really helps me to be an effective volunteer, I think, for this group. It means I can help people out with any questions they might have about their display, or about what they need to bring, or how to price things, and how to sort of present themselves in a professional way. All those things I can do. My favorite part of the Night of the Artists is the camaraderie that we have between the artists. I especially really like the gala evening when we all dress up and look fancy, and it's just a nice way to network not only with your clientele, but also with fellow artists and see what they're doing. And we have it's such a family vibe that I really enjoy seeing everyone. Sometimes we don't see each other for a whole year, but when we do, it's like not even a day has passed. So I really enjoy that. So if somebody wanted to join in and volunteer with any organization, I would suggest you reach out to that organization and see if it might be a fit for you, and see if there's positions open that might be more suited to your talents and your passions. And if it is, then I would say just stop by and chat to someone and see what the process is to apply. These kind of events are so important, not just for the artists, but also to the communities. And this particular community, the Bonnie Doon community, has been especially embracing of the arts, and we're super grateful to them for hosting. Yeah, just bringing people together to enjoy some fellowship and to enjoy the arts and get inspired by other artists is always a positive thing. There's not enough space for artists to show their work in any community, so having a beautiful open space like this where we can come together and show our work is vital.
A central part of Phil's gallery and art walk is the charity he founded, Amy's House. He shares why he created the charity and how it is an integral part of his vision with the gallery and his art walk.
Well, back in 2019, when I was in my full-on with Night of Artists, my wife was diagnosed with cancer, and she passed away in February of 2019. And while she was going through her cancer treatment, she always had this wish to open up a home to help people who had to travel great distances to Edmonton to get their cancer treatments. So on her birthday in September of 2019, after months of working hard, myself and a group of her friends managed to open up a house that would provide that kind of comfort for cancer patients, where people can travel into Edmonton from out of town and not have to look for a place to stay. They could stay for free at Amy's House and go for their cancer treatments and be comfortable for 4 to 6 weeks or however long they need to be before they have to head back home again. They don't have to come and look for a hotel. They don't have to spend crazy amounts of money just to be given radiation. Even though COVID basically stopped everything I was doing other than Amy's House. Amy's House became my passion during COVID because it was the only thing that I could keep open. And we were able to continue to help people because only one family could stay at the house at a time. It became this unbelievable healing process for myself and my kids to get over the loss of my wife and their mother. In last year, 2023, after we started doing the events in the mall and started using the event as a fundraiser, we were able to open a second home now. And we've helped almost close to 50 families in the last 4.5 years, and the charity continues to grow.
Phil shares his future plans for the gallery and art walk, highlighting the importance of the arts in building vibrant, thriving communities.
Is there anything I haven't tried yet in this gallery? That is something that I definitely, it's a very dangerous question. If I can continue to grow the gallery, I eventually would like to make the mall more part of the arts community by adding more into the mall, where for those that are familiar with Granville Island, I'd like to get the mall feeling more like a Granville Island venue where there's so much to take in. Almost like the farmers market in Edmonton, where they're all coming primarily for the food, but maybe this venue will become primarily for the art. Even if it's just for 2 days a week, you come and just take it all in. But I'm a big dreamer, and I take my ideas, and if they don't happen today, I always have them on the back burner. Just like this gallery, I always wanted to run a gallery when I was in my 20s. Never thought I'd ever do it because I just didn't think I could put the money up front to do it, and the timing just was right when it happened, and I had the idea there, so I pulled it out and it's ready to go. So I just believe that when that time is right, it'll happen. Where would I go next with my gallery or Night of Artists? I don't really have a long-term plan. The long-term plans I find usually present themselves, and you could have asked me 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, would I ever be doing an entire event in a mall where I take over the entire mall, let alone as a gala event? And I didn't have that plan ever. I like the fact that life changes on a dime. I mean, sometimes it changes horribly on a dime. And we didn't see the pandemic coming, and that changed the world, how we do a lot of things. And but I do know that one thing that I can keep consistent is community, and keeping the people around me that are important and that believe and want to make things happen. And when that happens, opportunities are going to present themselves, and I kind of like that. I kind of like I don't know what's coming next. I have no clue, but I'm ready. Like I'm open to what is going to transpire next in my life, and I believe whatever plunks in my lap, it's going to be something that will be memorable. Well, one thing that I really want to happen is just for the arts to thrive. I think that we are such a community that needs creativity. You can't really understand how valuable creativity is in the arts until something like a pandemic comes up. I mean, during the pandemic, everybody was watching Netflix. They were watching anything they could, like visual puzzles, anything. All that comes from creativity, like jigsaw puzzles. How many people did puzzles during the pandemic? And typically it was artwork that they're putting together. Every TV show is artwork. Like, it's all this creativity. So anybody that has any criticism about why do you fund the arts, we need it. And businesses, when they have their conferences, if they're going to have a conference in the city, they're going to go to the city where there's art, because what are the employees or people attending the conference going to do with their spare time? Well, they need to go to concerts, they need to go check out the gallery, they need to do things. And that only happens through the arts. And I'd like to just find a way to keep building the arts up in the city. Edmonton has a phenomenal arts program, and I want to be part of that and help build it up. And I also want to help find ways for the artists to make a living at it, because artists can make a living at their art. And people want to see that. In a world where we're slowly going to AI on everything, like, we need that tangible thing where people can actually go up and touch the art, not just look at it online. So by creating this type of thing, getting people out, looking at the artwork, touching the artwork if the artist lets you, and just meeting the artist, because there's so many great people behind those art pieces. And I think that's what we need, is to keep feeling the vibe of the art community, but in person.
Phil Alain's journey from artist to gallery owner isn't just about showcasing art, it's about preserving community spirit. From breaking down barriers around art to fostering a culture of support among artists, Phil's vision extends far beyond the gallery. With volunteers as the backbone and Amy's house as the heart, his mission to preserve the vitality of the mall and build vibrant communities through the arts continues to inspire artists and community members to get involved